does in fact have that dog in her, the capacity to kill someone, at least in self-defense. Could this also be something that the two murderers obsessed with her were able to somehow sense? Would it have been more true if they hadn't convinced her that she could have already been killing people? Has she actually become more like these people through the effects that they're having on her life? Mima's downward spiral was almost certainly worse than anything I've personally experienced, and not only because of the violence encircling it, but also because of how much she's dealing with it by herself. The person that she's closest to is not only working against her, but spending less time with her in that effort, and her family and friends are far away. Even if I may have been left with broken trust at the end of my relationship, I had felt empowered by the trust that I had had when that relationship was active, however misplaced it may have been. If I didn't have people who were around that could look at me and tell me I'm not that far gone, I don't know if I could have survived the complete desolation of trust in herself that Mima feels when she actually thinks that she is a mind-broken murderer. At last, we arrive at the most memorable scene in Perfect Blue, at least on first blush, the crazy climactic action sequence which folds reality and delusion in on one another in a visual feast of filmmaking. This is everything in the film coming to a head, and honestly, there's less to say about it now, considering how the information of this scene lends the perspective necessary to go back and analyze the rest of the film, as I've been doing. Much of what happens in this scene is pure cinematic spectacle, dazzling and full of tension even on repeated viewings, as you really think about how much of this seemingly really happened. Mima did in fact seemingly fall several stories and get stabbed twice. I like to think that the time that she would have spent gasping on the ground in reality is the amount of time that it actually took Rumi to get down the stairs, and so that illusion of her gracefully leaping after Mima is just her perception of continued threat coming after her, but that's just getting really interpretive on my part. The series of reveals all starts with Mima realizing that she's not in her apartment. She's in a facsimile of what her apartment looked like before her career change, with her fish still living and her Cham poster still on the wall. But Mima realizes what's happening because she sees the unfamiliar view from the apartment window. She's confronted by a vision of herself from the past, but dressed in what is supposedly the group's new costume, and only through seeing Rumi's reflection in the mirror does she realize the truth of the situation. Most interesting to me about this sequence is how Mima's illusion is not broken by the realization that it's actually Rumi attacking her, and the truth is only ever revealed in reflections, usually which serve to show us the ways in which Rumi cannot completely imitate Mima. Mostly because she's out of shape and she can't fit into Mima's costume or keep up with her escape. Rumi is pushing herself way beyond her physical limitations in order to embody Mima because she is completely broken away from the Rumi personality at this point, and she only believes herself to be Mima full time, which will be explained at the end of the film. I think the switch likely came when she murdered Mimania and then Mima's producer,